Hello! Today I wanted to share some of my thoughts and observations about modular origami, and maybe introduce some of you to the joy of folding Kusudama. These will be some general tips, so I won't go into any details about specific designs. In case you didn't know, modular refers to the use of modules, or many small pieces to create one large thing. The Kusudama is loosely a vaguely spherical object, but more specifically, the designs work geometrically because they are usually what we call stellations of an icosahedron and sometimes a dodecahedron, as pictured right now. Your typical Kusudama consists of 30 pieces, but some designs allow you to make 12-piece versions. Fair warning though, these are usually much less stable and a bit harder to make, and well, they tend to fall apart a bit more easily. The assembling part of a Kusudama is usually the hardest part, but don't be discouraged. Good designs for starting off are the ones that have these kind of cute triangular bits sticking out. They're also the most straightforward about what bits you stick where, and they don't really fall apart that much, even as you're in the middle of putting it together. Because of the geometry, there are always parts where 3 pieces meet, and parts where 5 pieces meet. The points where 3 meet are always more stable, because triangles, or something. Geometry. So if you find that your Kusudama keeps falling apart, try to patch up as many of the 3-piece meeting points as you can. For example, in this one I'm working on, it's halfway through, which is also the easiest part, and I'm just kind of patching in all of the 3-piece meeting spots before I have to move on to putting the 5-piece parts together. Aside from when you first start out making a Kusudama, the next hardest part is usually when you get to the end because there's no space to put your hands. I often use a pair of tweezers to help me place the last module, and there is no shame in that. And speaking of tweezers, another thing that helps a lot are paper clips, especially for those modules that really like to fall apart. Some people might say that that's cheating, but I think there is a meditativeness in folding Kusudama that gets lost when you get frustrated. So overall, using paper clips helps you stay in the spirit of the Kusudama. And also, if you have sweaty hands like me and can't hold on to the paper for too long or else the paper will go bad, paper clips are a lifesaver. So now that we've gone over some technique, let's talk about our aesthetic choices, in which I entirely talk about color. I've made some questionable paper decisions before, so I want to share what I've learned from these mistakes. Most designs are already very ornate, because it uses so much paper to begin with, and you'll want to use a single color paper, or maybe a gradient if you're feeling particularly fancy. The paper you typically buy usually comes with way too many colors, so finding 30 sheets of all the same color can sometimes be a bit hard. I've mostly been using 10 sheets of 3 colors for most of the designs that I've folded, and they pretty much fall into 2 different methods. First, there is the complete randomness method, where you try to make sure no 2 adjacent pieces are ever the same color. There's no real formula to this, so sometimes you'll get stuck with doubled colors and need to move things around. Or sometimes you just leave it like that. Another method that I found to be artistically pleasing is using a kind of gradient scheme. You start off on one end with 5 pieces of the first color, and then you attach 5 of the next colors to the corresponding edges, and so on. So with 3 colors, the pattern I used from going light to dark was basically 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You could achieve similar results with 6 colors of 5 sheets each. I imagine you can make a really nice rainbow or gradient design that way, which I will definitely be trying sometime soon. So I hope some of these tips from my experience folding Kusudama will help you on your journey, and happy folding!